All right, everyone. So here we are, and we're going to talk about SAFMEDS today, or this portion of your day. So we are going to look at the SAFMEDS instructional guide, the rubric, the deck itself, as well as the standard acceleration chart, which is where you'll be collecting and charting your data. So the first thing you'll do is download the instructional guide and rubric, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that up right here. Now, this is a 4-page document that I would like for you to read. All the things included in here are required for this course, and you'll be receiving points based on the things that you do that are required for this assignment. Anytime that you see SCC, that means Standard Acceleration Chart. SAFMEDS was a term that was coined by Dr. Ogden Lindsley, and it stands for Say All Fast, a Minute Each Day Shuffled. There's a ton of research backing this and helping that solidifies that using SAFMEDS will build your fluency in behavioral terminology when it comes to the things that we work on. As I said, I'm not going to read all of these things to you, but please read this with a keen eye so you know what is expected of you. When you are charting, and I'm going to pull the chart up in a moment and show you what that looks like. But the way this works is you will chart the responses that you get correct, and that will be labeled as the accel, right? Or the accel, right? We're going to be accelerating. So your corrects will be the accel, and your incorrects will be the decel on the standard acceleration chart. Like I said, when we go through how to work the chart, you're going to see that once you put your numbers in, your data in on one page, it will automatically populate the data onto the chart. The decks are broken into 3 separate sections. Again, they are labeled. I'll show you those cards here in a moment. They're labeled Dex 1, Dex 2, and Dex 3. That's noted on the cards by a 1 in the corner, a 2 in the corner, or a 3 in the corner. You'll start out by practicing and checking out with Deck 1. Then, starting week 3, you'll combine Decks 1 and 2, practice those, and then we'll use those for our checkouts every day as you're charting, and then our in-class, in-moment checkouts. And then your final will be starting with in week 5, you'll combine all of the decks. We call that our cumulative deck, and that's what your final checkout will be. Here are your instructions for your practice, your daily SAFMEDS practice. So please, again, review that. So our aim, right? Your goal is to score 4 to 17 correct terms in 1 minute. Do not be discouraged if you don't get there on the first couple tries. Like, it takes a while to build. That's why we practice. That's how fluency is built. This is called acquisition. Same thing that our students do when they're learning new things. Here's the procedures for it, so please pay attention to that. I've also included an example of a student demonstrating a SAFMEDS checkout. So this is what this is going to look like when you are submitting recordings, when you're doing them with your partners, all of that. Your final checkout is going to be worth 100 points, right? So there is a large chunk of points to this, and then you're going to get points as well for doing your checkouts, doing your practice, and graphing your data and submitting evidence of that via a screenshot in Canvas. Again, here are some guidelines for you when it comes to your practice and for the final video checkout in some more detail. Here's the instructions for the instructor. If you would like to see that, I'd like to be transparent so you can see all of that. Here is how the in-class checkouts are going to go. So I say in-class, we're going to be remote, but I'll break you into breakout sessions with one partner, and that'll be who you do your checkout with. And here is the grading rubric, right? 14 plus, you get the points. And then as it moves down, right, the points are removed as you go down to the number that you get correct. So that's for the correct responses and things like this. And then here is our total where we get to the 100 points. So 90 of the points for the final checkout happen if you get 14 plus or more. And like I said, there's a response cost as we move our way down. And then engaging in video integrity requirements will get you that other 10 points. Yeah, so that is the instructions. Again, I know that was brief as I ran through that, but please go ahead and read that thoroughly so you understand and you know those procedures. So let's pull up the deck here so you can see what that looks like. So here's the SAFMED introductory deck. Now, as you can see, here are those numbers that I had mentioned in the corner, right? And you'll see this first page is the term. The second page is the definition. We have pages 1, 2, 3, and then we get down here to page 4 and 5, where we start to see 2 come in. So that's the second section of the deck. And then further on, we have where the 3 shows up. So those are those separate decks that I had mentioned. When you go to print these cards out, you're going to be printing them front to back. And I highly suggest printing them on some type of like card stock or paper stock that's thicker, because it makes it easier to flip through and practice and go through at a rapid pace. You'll print these front and back. So my suggestion would be like practice printing it front and back with a regular piece of printer paper before you go and print on the cardstock to make sure that everything aligns as they should. So as you can see here, just for example, acquisition, that is the first term. When you come down here to the definitions, on the opposite side, on the right side of the page here, this where my mouse and cursor is kind of moving around, this building of a new behavior is the definition for acquisition. So you have to make sure that you're orienting it correctly as you're flipping the pages over, putting it back in the printer and allowing it to print. But those are the cards, pretty straightforward with those. You'll need to have those printed, cut out, and ready to rock and roll day 1 of our class. Now, here's the piece that people get kind of tripped out about. This is the standard acceleration chart. Now, this chart, oh, I'm starting to talk, this will pop up. This is a safe file. This is my file. However, as a precaution, if you feel such a way, you can hit disable macros. Either way, it is not going to harm your computer. But I'm going to say disable macros just as an avoidance measure. Now, here is the standard acceleration chart. Here, this page right here, this is where you'll enter all of your data. And if you look down here in the bottom there, it goes like this: data chart, data chart, data chart. We're only going to be worrying about data 1 and chart 1. So we'll start here with data 1. So this section here says, if you can see where I'm at cell B2. It says enter performer. So we're just going to put my name right there, but you'll put your name. Enter the start date. I'm recording this on 5/11, but this will be you will enter your date. You will enter the day that you started with this. Enter your age. If you want to enter your age, it's cool. If you don't, that's fine. I don't care. If you're, if you don't want to share that, that's totally up to you. And we are really not going to sweat the enter counted or enter label. We're going to go down here to where it says enter supervisor. This will be the name of your professor. So I'm just going to put me on this one. And that's all you have to do here on that section, right? Now, when you do your SAFMEDS, for example, it stands for, say, minute everyday shuffle, right? It's 1 minute. So for one, here we see how it says it has our directions there. It has what we need to put there. So for 1 minute, we're going to enter 1. So each time you track your data and input it, which is every day, you will enter a 1 in this cell. In this instance, it's D2. As you can see, the dates followed what I input, right? So they are automatically populated for us. So we have counting time, that's our 1. Now let's say I do my first checkout. This is a brand new task. I haven't even practiced yet. So maybe I get lucky and I get 1 correct, but I get like 6 incorrect. We're gonna put our number of timings. You only do one number of timings to enter per day. You can practice as much as you want. So as you'll see, and I'm gonna pop over here to the chart. So you can see down here, I'm at chart 1. Click on chart 1. This is the standard acceleration chart. You can see we have the dates here, and there's kind of spread out through this. It'll end well before this because our class ends in June. And then I'm going to go right down here. This is our count per minute. So we're at 1 minute. This is our first timing. As you can see, the shaded dot here, that represents what I got correct. So you can see series 1.0. So that's a 1. I got 1 correct. And here you can see the X. That's how many I got wrong. X's are D cell. The shaded dots are our A cells. So I'm going to go back over here. And now I'm just going to go ahead and put in some more data. So we're going to put 1 minute because that's our counting time. I've practiced a little bit. So now I have 4 correct. And then we have, let's say my incorrects stay the same, but I'm getting faster. I'm getting through more cards. We're going to just keep on inserting some data. Oh, look at that. My errors are going down. That's what we want to see. I'm just going to keep on plugging away for a while. Got 9 correct, 5 incorrect. It stayed pretty stable. Now we're at 11 correct, 4 incorrect. Our timing is 1. So as you can see how this data entry goes, what we want to see is our data increasing as far as our corrects. We want to see that A cell going up. We want to see the D cell of incorrects going down. So let's see what that data look like now. Those data look like in the chart. Bang, there we are. So now you can see there was my first data point. There's second, third, and fourth. Is that how many I did? I'm just going to double check. Sorry, we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we are. There's our data. Oh, 1 is hiding behind the 5. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can see I have a steep acceleration of my acquisition and a steep decel of my incorrects. Now, that's not going to be what happens all the time, right? You might have a really slow decel and a really slow A cell and D cell. Sorry, I went the wrong way. You might be flat for a little bit, and then you'll see these little improvements. Now, what you see here, this red line, this is what we call a phase change line. And you'll learn about that later in the course and what that means. All it means is this is where we made a change. So let's say we're at week 3, we've charted. So we're about right around there-ish. Let's see how I'm doing with my dates. Yeah, that's about right. When you make the change and you add in the second date, I'm sorry, the second deck of cards, you're going to put that red line, a phase change line, between the first set of data for deck 1 and the second set of data for deck 1 and 2 as we put them together. Now, when you get to deck 2, 1, 2, and 3, when you're adding them all together, you can either copy and paste that red line and move it to where it needs to be, or you can also easily do it by hitting insert and going to shape and picking a line up here. But that's all it is when it's charting, right? The charting is very straightforward. I'm happy to answer questions that you might have about this as we go through it, how to troubleshoot and all that. But the cool thing is, as we add data, I'm going to go way down here and see. Let's put one here. Just you would have these every day, but now we're just messing around a little bit. When you add in the new deck, you would expect that you're going to have a decrease in your A cell and an increase in your D cell. Let's go see, where did that fall? Whoops, hit the wrong data thing. Here we go. Yeah, right there. So you can see, now I just kind of guessed is where it was going to fall. As you go through it temporally every day, it will line up really nicely. You'd have all your data here. We see I was up at this data point for my initial deck, my first deck. When I added the second to that, it went down because they're new terms and we need to practice and practice and practice. But that's all it is to the standard acceleration charts. I'm not going to save this. You will want to save yours, so it continues to save your progress. But that's what it is. That's where we're at. That's how this stuff goes. Again, all of the information here is in our Canvas site. The recording is also going to be here in the Canvas site. And then you also have your instructors and professors and all of us here supporting you and can help answer questions for that, for this task. So remember, read the instructions thoroughly, have your cards printed out, preferably on some thicker cardstock, and have them cut and ready to rock and roll on day one. And I'll see y'all then. Thanks. Bye.